This is Lehigh Valley Political Pulse. I'm Tom Shortell. Each week, political scientist Chris Borick joins me to discuss the latest scientific-based research related to public opinion. We dive into the local, state, and national levels and what it all means for you. 2024 is nearly over, and with it, another high-octane presidential election. But that doesn't mean we can tune out political news for the next 4 years. 2025 will see hundreds of candidates running for local offices right here in the Lehigh Valley. The winners will set the biggest part of our tax bills, choose who educates our children, and direct local law enforcement. Chris, how important are these off-year elections for Lehigh Valley residents?
Tom, extremely important. Unfortunately, lots of voters after an election year like this will not be back at the polls next year if history is any predictor. And that's a shame because, as you said, the types of decisions that are made at the local level, the county level, the municipal level, the school district level are incredibly impactful in our lives.
Why don't people show up?
For a lot of Americans, the presidency is politics. They don't think much beyond it. Even we'll see that in a race like last year, down ballot, people will come in for the presidential race and either not vote in some of the races or cast votes based on limited information, even at the highest level, like Senate races, right, that they'll look at where you think they should be informed. That's the reality. And so when we ask people, and we've done this before, who's the president? Most people can tell you. Who's your senator? More could. Who's your governor? As we get lower and lower, people are less likely to report that. And so in many places, if we ask you, who's on county council or who's on your municipal, your borough council, even the most informed people that we would say politically don't have that information.
Things that people get really upset about from my time covering the community, like they're not engaging on that level. What would it take to kind of reverse those trends?
Yeah, ironically, when there's a controversy around those, so a rate increase in taxes that's significant and catches people's attention, a very kind of contested issue in a school board, for example, over a curriculum or taxes for a new facility, tends to bring more people in.
We've seen national dialogues mold our local politics. Things like DEI, the MAGA-style campaigns, they've kind of trickled down to our local level. How do you think the 2024 presidential race might shape the local races in 2025?
In political science, we call it the nationalization of politics. There used to be a pretty stark divide between national politics and local politics, but that's changing. It's changed over the last decade. In particular, where a lot of these nationalized issues, the nationalized tenor and type of debates, coming down to the local levels in a larger way. And it's hard for me not to imagine that that's going to be part of the landscape next year. That doesn't mean it's totally nationalized, that we'll talk about these big kind of cultural issues dominating local issues. Often it does come down to taxes or services or types of administration. Nonetheless, you see it. We've seen it in the last few cycles in school boards.
At this point, is there a particular issue that you believe will attract voters or that people will be latching onto for the 2025 cycle?
I've done polling again with folks here and other organizations in the Valley, and over the last few years, we see issues like affordability in housing, transportation, and the presence of warehouses and logistics within the Valley really rising in terms of salience. Are those issues now going to be prominently on display locally rather than some of these nationalized things that we've talked about, Tom? And I think there's a pretty good chance of that. You talk to people in the Lehigh Valley, what's bugging them particular to life here, and it's often those types of issues.
That's Muhlenberg College political science professor Chris Borick. This has been Lehigh Valley Political Pulse. I'm Tom Shortell. For an extended version of this interview, visit LehighValleyNews.com.